Okay, this is going to be the in-depth movie review of From Dusk Till Dawn. And basically, if you've never seen this, don't watch any more of this review because I'm going to spoil it if you have not seen it. Basically, this is just to retread the movie and talk about all the main plot points in it. This is probably my number 3 favorite movie of all time. I remember seeing this around '96 when it came out. I was, like 11 years old. And so this is definitely a movie not made for kids, but I still liked it. The basic plot line is 2 bank robbers. One is a psychopathic man who tends to kill people, and the other one fancies himself just as the bank robber, played by George Clooney and Quentin Tarantino. They're basically on the run towards Mexico. They've killed like 20 people. You actually get a death toll in the movie. It's counted up like a adding system. But anyway, they're running to Mexico, and you get the nice jolting scene in the beginning where they basically the beginning scene is really nice because it could be about a minute long, but in the movie it's like 7 minutes long or something like that. But it's basically they're in the store and the sheriff comes in the store, and of course they don't want to be caught. They don't want any confrontation, so they're hiding out. And then Quentin Tarantino goes crazy and kills the cop and the gas station owner. But basically you find out they have a hostage, and they're close to Mexico, and they hold up in this motel close to Mexico. And that pretty much could be the end of the movie. It's basically they're going to go to Mexico and that's it. It could feasibly be over. But you're introduced to the characters of Jacob and his 2 kids. Jacob, played by Harvey Keitel, is a former minister. He raised his kids to be religious, but when his wife died of a horrible accident, he lost his faith. And that's one of the main themes in the movie is losing, regaining your faith. Anyway, Jacob and his 2 kids, one being played by Juliette Lewis, go to the same motel, and they actually almost hit George Clooney, which is the inciting incident. And it's a few seconds, George Clooney's just kind of staring up, and he's looking at the camper that the Harvey Keitel is driving, and he's just thinking. And right then and there's the big choice of the movie, and you find out in a few seconds what the big choice is. They're going to George Clooney and Harvey Keitel are going to kidnap, not really kidnap, but take hostage the Fuller family so they can get across Mexico. They're going to hide out in this camper and get across Mexico. And that's the big choice. I mean, pretty much the rest of the movie would not happen if the inciting incident did. So then we get to about the halfway point. They go to this bar, club type place called the Titty Twister, and this is again right around the 45-minute mark. I'm not sure exactly how long this movie, but I'm sure it's it's 108 minutes. So almost halfway through the movie, but it's off by a few minutes. But right around the 45-minute mark, they're getting ready to walk into the bar, and Chet, played by Cheech Marin, he has 3 different roles in this, I believe. He stops them and says, "You can't come in here." And there's a short time span, but he says, "You can't come in here," and that's really the point where George Clooney and the rest of them can turn back and not step inside this bar, but he breaks his fingers and breaks his nose, and they charge in anyway, and that right there is the halfway point of no return. Comes right halfway, and then you get introduced to a few of the characters inside of the bar, and there's a nice dance by Salma Hayek. She shows up. Then the movie completely changes, and this is something that no one should know until they actually watch the movie. Is that at this 55-minute mark, from out of nowhere, everyone starts turning into vampires around George Clooney and Quentin Tarantino. Everyone, pretty much almost everyone in the bar at least everyone that works there, starts turning into vampires. And all of a sudden, they went from a bank robber movie into a vampire movie, just like that. And that is that's the thing that initially drew me to this. Just I thought from out of nowhere, it turns into something completely different. And pretty much from that point on, it's pretty much almost non-stop action, vampire violence, vampire gore, lots of blood and guts, and some just great action camera work. And that pretty much leads up to the climax of the movie, the low point for the characters, and that's when you start to see how the story is not fully revolved around George Clooney and Quentin Tarantino, because at the hour mark, Quentin Tarantino dies, but it's the point, the big climax and the low point for all the characters is the point where the Harvey Keitel character gets bit. And of all the actual living persons in the movie, you have they kind of hold up into the back of into the bar in this little storage room, and it's George Clooney, Harvey Keitel who's bit, and then the two kids. And of course, it's definitely their low point because they know their dad's going to turn into a vampire. It's Harvey Keitel's low point because, well, he's going to turn into a vampire. And also it's George Clooney's low point because before this he never really showed any emotion about anybody else other than him and his brother. And when when Harvey Keitel comes into the room and shows him the bite mark, and he says he's going to turn into a vampire within the hour, George Clooney actually starts pounding on the doors, actually yelling at the vampires, and he's mad over the fact that Harvey Keitel, the father, is going to turn into a vampire. So pretty much right after that, they build some unique weapons, some very nice weapons, and they go out and start killing all the rest of the vampires. There's like 100 of them. And Harvey Keitel does turn into a vampire, and his son actually gets killed right after Harvey Keitel turns into a vampire. And the resolutions in this movie happen when the daughter, played by Juliette Lewis, has to kill her father, along with her. She has to kill her brother, and pretty much at that point, it's just her and George Clooney. And she kind of, in that moment, she breaks away from her family, and she becomes just a person of her own. Before it sounded like throughout the entire movie, she was really just part of the family and didn't believe what her father used to believe, and now she's going to break away and she's her own person. And then at the very end of the movie, George Clooney is more of a compassionate person, whereas, like I said, he didn't care about anyone except him and his brother. This movie is not meant to be great as far as movie standards go, but if you watch this movie and you do not like it, it's either because you, for some reason, dislike the people in the movie as from other movies, or maybe you hate things that come from, the vampires, you hate things that come from out of nowhere. It's hard to say why you would not like this movie, and this is just an amazing movie, and it's a lot of fun to watch. And there's lots of great things. The dialogue in this movie is amazing. There's so many great memorable lines, and how words are used to describe things, and the music is great. The cinematography is great, and the special effects are really, really good. I mean, overall, you can watch this movie over and over and over, and there's not one part in the entire movie, not one little scene here or there, not one thing is bad at all. I mean, the entire thing, as far as being a vampire movie or Cops on the Run movie, this movie is perfect in that sense. So I definitely recommend this.